Welcome to Popular Cruising. I'm your host Jason Leppard, here with a deck-by-deck tour and review of Virgin Voyage's adult-only Valiant Lady. It's not every day that I get to evaluate an entirely new cruise line, and prior to the sailing I was indeed a virgin. Now I am mostly a fan of the brand, but please stay tuned to see our concluding pros and cons. First, it's that time to take a look at those sexy ship specifications. With its wide variety of included dining and more, I would definitely consider Valiant to be a premium vessel. She is one of Virgin's so-called lady ships, as first launched in 2022. She has a tonnage of 110,000 and a guest capacity of 2,770, which makes for a more voluminous passenger space ratio of 39.71. The accommodations I enjoyed on board were a sea terrace cabin. Yes, with its weird light switch placed behind the closet curtain, but doing well to play up the line's vintage nautical aesthetic, while also departing from a traditional cruise look, including a bed that is teddy bear approved, in large part thanks to the presence of USB and electrical charging ports, although placed lower than we'd like at both nightstands / cool table slider. Beds are oriented such that they can convert into day sofas as requested, which weirdly places the plugs on this side farther out of reach, except for when seated at the singular chair. The configuration is somewhat bizarre, but the additional, posable table is a nice inclusion. Across the way is a vanity with built-in mini fridge, daily replenished drinking water, and a neat tablet to better control stateroom temperatures, lighting, and also mechanical shades. Looking out onto the terrace itself, complete with the line's signature hammock chairs. Back inside, the television can also be controlled by the tablet, which can further request cabin services. Activate a cool cinema mode to close the curtains and dim the lights, and call up a large selection of included on-demand movies, which are great to enjoy with room service, as we'll later point out. Otherwise, there is a decent amount of wall hooks and overall storage at the open closet, which is easier to access the switch when the curtain is drawn, but it really should be located on the opposite wall. Drawers and shelves, meanwhile, are a bit minimal across the cabin, however. In the bathroom behind the door are another 2 handy hooks. For being relatively compact, I must say the layout of the toilet compartment is just right, with enough space where needed, while at the sink, and in a square footprint shower with premium glass enclosure over a flimsy curtain, which thankfully can still include a bar of soap in addition to shower gel. And the rain head is a very nice touch as well. Besides such terraces, there are standard sea view staterooms and inside cabins as well. And so-called Rockstar quarters encompass larger and more stylish 352 square foot Seriously suites. There are also suite aft suites, measuring 416 to 661 square feet in size, with wake views to match, plus bigger bedrooms. If you haven't already done so, we invite you to please subscribe to our channel. Of course, suite bathrooms are larger and more luxurious as well. Other categories extend to the 482 square foot Brilliant suites, with a larger living area, and bedroom complete with its own nifty vinyl record player, plus a hip, colorful bathroom. Even bigger, starting at 615 square feet, are cheeky corner suites, with divided living and bedroom spaces, and of course a namesake corner wraparound terrace that is simply huge. Then the mega Rockstar quarters further extend to 833 square foot posh suites, with indeed a posh sitting and living area, in addition to separate bedroom. And similarly configured, but with slightly different seating, are larger 950 square foot Fab suites. But the biggest overall is the 2,147 square foot Massive suite, complete with its own wall of electric guitars, naturally, welcoming living room, and cool purple slider divided bedroom. Its bathroom is the most luxurious, and its private terrace is all about making a statement, or just relaxing in its very own hot tub. When you're ready to book your Valiant Lady voyage, we recommend doing so through our sponsor, Fairy Godmother Travel, who will magically take care of all your trip planning absolutely for free. To get your complimentary quote, click on the link right here, or call the phone number or message the email address below. Beginning on the upper decks and working our way down, onboard activities begin at the runway and the perch on Deck 17. The latter is an outdoor yoga studio with great sea views, and the former is an equally scenic jogging track that circumnavigates the ship's aft smokestack. Just below on Deck 16 is the much ballyhooed net, which quite frankly is an underutilized gimmick, albeit with the stunning view. I'd much prefer to see an additional swimming pool here. But the athletic club and sports area are both extensively outfitted with the central basketball court, oversized deck games, classic foosball, at least a couple of hot tubs, lounging and bar areas, fun swings, padded daybeds, and additional outdoor exercise equipment. Privately, only for VIP suite guests, is Richard's Rooftop. Named after Virgin founder Branson, and filled with all sorts of sunbathing, as well as shaded structures. Similarly, the cabanas can be rented by anyone. First come, first served, for private seclusion on deck. Or the Sun Club is completely open with its own complimentary beach-style shaded seating alcoves. Meanwhile, Deck 15 pools on board are not quite as bad as first depicted. Sure, the main Aquatic Club one is surprisingly super small, with a tiny central deep section flanked by shallows, which you'll later see featured in the ship's entertainment, but there's at least a secondary well-being pool for waiting, and 2 additional whirlpools. Again, a third pool in place of the net I think would remedy most shortages on busy sea days. Skirting this one is also the B Complex Fitness Center, composed of a balance studio with friendly instructors, and a muscle building area on one side, and a bike studio and fat-burning treadmills on the other. Somewhat curiously located, not adjacent to the shipboard spa, is the tune-up for manicures, pedicures, and the Medi-Spa. Opposite of which is the Scene, an exclusive upper deck event space. Descending to Deck 7 is where you'll find the Groupie, befitting Virgin's musical heritage, as a venue dedicated to karaoke with 2 available rooms. Also appropriate and reminiscent of Virgin's megastores, gone in the US but still around internationally, is Voyage Vinyl, where passengers can purchase records to play in their suites and then take home. As an analog aficionado myself, I was super excited by this store, but they were a bit picked over on my visit. Nonetheless, it's still a super cool inclusion on a ship. Also on Deck 7 is another thing you don't often find on cruise ships nowadays, a full wraparound promenade deck, extending from the bow all the way to the stern, uninterrupted on both sides, including alfresco dining, and lots of great deck seating and recliners. Centrally inside is the roundabout, housing future voyage sails, and this awesome builder's model of the vessel up top, and spiral stairs leading down to the lower level of Deck 6, seen here decorated for Scarlet Night. Voyage Vinyl isn't the only retail shop on Valiant Lady. In fact, Deck 6 further highlights an array of sundries, logo items, other clothing and jewelry, and the ship's dry bar and barbershop. And yes, there's even Virgin's signature tattoo parlor here, which gathered more interest than I had expected. But no one in the chair per se when I checked it out. The casino on this level is generally run-of-the-mill, with a mixture of enticing table games and slots, for guests to try their luck. And the den across the way, like the scene above, is another flex event space a la conference center. Lastly on Deck 5 activity-wise is not only sailor services, voyage speak for the reception desk, actually several individual desks to interact with the ship's attentive staff, but also the Redemption Spa, with the remainder of the ship's thermal suite offerings, like various therapy pools, in addition to relaxing lounging terraces, plus a variety of steam rooms and dry saunas. There are also a collection of treatment rooms for individuals as well as couples. Virgin has already made quite a splash with its exceptional dining, in large part because it's mostly all free, specialty restaurants included. There's really no main dining room to speak of, as each venue is a unique culinary destination, such as Razzle Dazzle on Deck 5, named after the camouflage designs applied to ocean liners during the World Wars. It makes for an interesting geometric aesthetic, but I wouldn't exactly call it appetizing, and the overwhelming reds are a bit much. Maybe it was the hue that overtook the meal, but these plates were my least favorite overall. The salmon was good, but overly seasoned. However, the side of smoked bacon was excellent. And the contemporary take on milk and cookies made for a fun and sweet dessert. Inversely, on the other side of the ship is my personal favorite on board, Pink Agave for elevated Mexican cuisine, in a more handsome venue. Every dish here was a standout, from the pomegranate garnished guacamole to the perfectly spiced Camarón Amarillo. And my entree of cochinita pibil was simply a flavor explosion. Not to mention the tacos de chocolate, which is one of the best desserts I've ever enjoyed at sea. Moving upwards again to Deck 6 is the first of Valiant Lady's many bars, one of the few upcharge venues on board. On the rocks is the ship's cave bar, with equally cave-like exposed aggregate concrete. Sitting right above the two earlier restaurants is the test kitchen on the port side, described as a cooking lab and restaurant, with alternating 6-course set tasting menus, featuring chefs preparing courses right on the spot so we could interact as they plated. Our selections were both delicious and creative, like a mushroom-shaped mushroom appetizer. Smiley chefs continued with other courses in the main galley behind, smoking this earthy pea-forward egg dish. Before this sort of soup was poured over our succulent scallops. And then a splash of color presented a savory and sweet berry-topped venison. Then the cheese course was a very unique blue variety and a chilled, pop-like dense cream. And the chocolate cake was just a decadent conclusion. On the starboard side of Deck 6, meanwhile, is Extra Virgin, for fine Italian cuisine in a casual cafe setting. Classic starters are faves here, particularly beef carpaccio, and homemade pastas include the peppery bucatini carbonara, before finishing off with a lovely chocolate olive oil cake. Behind them both is the Wake, the ship's steakhouse and seafood restaurant, and probably the most elegant designed restaurant on board. Here I enjoyed a brunch, beginning with a delightful clam chowder. And I enjoyed the terrific views of said Wake, just a stone's throw away from which was soon my appropriate steak and eggs, for a hearty start to the day. And an always popular dessert of apple tatin. Heading up the entry stairs to Deck 7, the venue gives one final architecturally magnificent send-off. At the back of Deck 7, also overlooking the stern, is the dock. Taking advantage of the promenade for al fresco Mediterranean cuisine, which we will have to return to try in the future, along with its inviting outdoor bar service. Inside at the dockhouse, the Mediterranean food continues in a marvelously nautical setting, with cozy seating and even USB charging plugs for convenience. Heading forward is the social club and the arcade, equal parts diner and play area, with loads of board games and table ones, extending to fun air hockey, plus paid video ones. Just to the side is also the Loose Cannon, a playful theme bar suitable to pirates and trivia hounds alike, served by these winsome wenches. After working up an appetite again, the pizza place is another fine option for made-to-order pies that are always fresh accordingly. Pretty Fly for a white pie was one of my favorites, especially to take back to my cabin, where a small fee or minimum charge for room service could augment pizza with the likes of a white chocolate-coated confetti cake pop, or even helpings of my favorite, Haribo Gold Bears. Or also on Deck 7 is the Grounds Club, to pay for specialty coffees, and also grab a tempting pastry. Lick Me Till Ice Cream is yet another example of a free Virgin venue that would charge more on most other lines. But not here. Specialty ice creams are complimentary, in a cup or a cone, and there was not one flavor that disappointed. And it just so happened that my favorite watering hole was next door. The Draft House is the place to be for a proper pint, offering a wide variety of beers. This whiskey barrel stout of which was my bottle of choice. Or if champagne is more your speed, Sip has got you covered as well, with a long stretch of seating to enjoy a glass of bubbly by. Remarkably, there's still more food up on Deck 15, and what would ordinarily be the ship's buffet is the galley, a market-style food hall instead. Just pop a squat and grab a menu, and servers will conveniently bring to you whatever you want from any of the stands. Even outside if you so choose, at the back, which interestingly looks like the stern of an aircraft carrier under the net, given the ship's unique gray paint scheme, to enjoy the likes of these, ranging from tasty tacos, fresh sushi, and other Asian specialties, to classic grill items, and even all-day breakfast. Yes, please. Not to mention quick takeaway options if you prefer, including a selection of fruit bars. Rounding out the watering holes on Deck 15 are the Aquatic Club Bar servicing one pool, and the tongue-in-cheek titled Gym and Tonic Bar servicing the other, off from the fitness center. And believe it or not, there's still another full-service restaurant up here in the form of Gunbae for interactive Korean barbecue, which is yet another one I will have to return for next time. Lastly, the previously shown Athletic Club Bar services the namesake ship area on Deck 16, as does the Sun Club Bar farther forward. And for one final bite to eat, the Sun Club Cafe is where sunbathers can order refreshing Hawaiian poke bowls. Now on to entertainment. On aforementioned Scarlet Night, below the Fincantieri Builders Plate, the Aquatic Club turns into a watery nightclub, complete with giant inflatable octopus and all. Valiant Lady's talented troupe of acrobats and dancers take to the stage, in such a way that the smaller pool begins to make more sense. Besides kinetic illumination, singing and dancing, there is also plenty of splashing in the pool. Before inviting guests to partake in the shallows, as well as the deep center. Also most alluring on board is this often Instagrammed Infinite Starfield, and entrance to the manor on Deck 7. The ship's usual nightclub and host to its most titillating entertainment, which I'm saving for when I come back on board with my wife, the likes of which include lectures by a resident sexpert. Here's also where the lines First Mate, Ink Awards were presented to the brand's most supportive travel agents. Altogether, the entertainment on Virgin is not for everyone, but also not as scandalous as I was expecting, such as simple but excellent live music at the Roundabout. As in Las Vegas, there are elements that are more risque, but passengers can easily choose to opt in or opt out with zero judgment. And I really love some of these simpler acts, including the cruise ship veteran Slam Allen on buttery blues guitar. Come Scarlet Night, the Roundabout did get more crimson, as it were, effectively turning the whole ship into a pulsating dance club, with DJs even camping out in the adjacent coffee shop. But it's the Red Room with main entrance on Deck 6 that is the ship's primary theater, if you can even call it that. Convertible configurations include typical auditorium seating, facing a stage, as while sharing the sultry story of Scarlet Night. Or two sets of bleachers uniquely across from each other, with an acrobatic stage in between for dual reality, which adapts the story of Romeo and Juliet into a highly kinetic battle between the Montagues and Capulets, further represented by each side of the audience. It's a scene of controlled chaos, employing talented circus acts to cleverly convey the story, that is often sensual in nature, before becoming more playful but always competitive. The performers really excite and engage patrons with each and every sequence, all of which are in very close proximity. This is a great show to be in the front row at. Illustrations of the love affair are both beautiful and sexy. With all sorts of bodily contortions. But ultimately, their affections are chained and restricted, as one final conflict ensues between the families, in a very stunt-driven seesaw jump battle, resulting in character deaths, prior to emotional reconciliation and the stripping of the family colors, to finally unite and put differences behind. In a third theater configuration for the untitled Dance Show Party Thing, yep, that's actually what it's called, all the bleachers are tucked away for standing room only, as passenger characters you might find on the voyage are amusingly represented. And even traditional cruise ship entertainment is hilariously parodied. It really just makes this veteran cruise traveler laugh. It's true though that it's sometimes all just a bit very weird. While telling the story of our culture's preoccupation with screens and smartphones, before encouraging the props to be stripped away and ours pocketed, to metaphorically destroy them, and be present in the moment, to just dance and be social in person. The central catwalk stage even rotates during the performance to mix up the dance floor. Another comical interlude is when this diva takes to the stage to sing a rock version of My Heart Will Go On, complete with a recorder solo, no less. Virgin's message throughout the cruise is to truly sail into something spectacular, and its subversion of traditional cruise travel is mostly a success. with its adult-only environment being one of the most enjoyable aspects. No other large ship is this free of children, and it's an extremely nice change of pace. Besides the banning of kids, Valiant Lady is super inclusive and very welcoming of all walks of life, and both the staff and guests are extraordinarily friendly. So just get into it and jump around. And now for our concluding pros and cons. What we disliked as pains in the aft are some of the unusual entry-level cabin configurations, the very small main pull at the Aquatic Club, and the fact that Virgin's entertainment is not to everybody's tastes. But what we definitely liked, and can take a bow, are Valiant Lady's fantastic array of included fine dining, Virgin's adult-only policy for a unique voyage without children, and the ship's overall fun and personable alternative cruise vibe. Thanks so much for watching. If you would, as it really does help support us, please like this video with a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, while hitting that bell icon to be notified of new videos. Watch our other ones, and visit popularcruising.com.